Following the defeat of the education sales tax proposal by Oklahoma voters, teachers' only hope for a much-needed pay raise will have to come from state lawmakers. Several Tulsa area legislators recently gathered before educators and pledged that education will be one of their top priorities in the next session, but they offered no assurances that teachers will receive any significant raises as proposed by some of their colleagues.
Year after year, Oklahoma teachers have shown up at the state capitol demanding pay raises, and each year lawmakers have failed to deliver. This year, it's going to change. At least, that's the message that several lawmakers told educators at a legislative forum where teacher pay was front and center of the conversation.
We are going to do something for them this year. There's enough of us that really believe we need to do something there and increase some salaries. We've had way too many teachers leave, and it's difficult in recruiting. Exactly what we can do, that's going to be the challenge.
There is definitely going to be a focus on teacher pay, and something I think will definitely be done there. What we can do is going to be questionable simply because we don't have money.
As far as the amount of a raise, the only figure mentioned was $1,000, well below the $5,000 raise teachers hoped for before the defeat of State Question 779, the education sales tax.
It's not going to be easy because, as many of you know, addressing teacher pay raise, a $1,000 teacher pay raise is roughly $60 million. The reality is $300 million for a $5,000 teacher pay raise with a $700 or $800 million shortfall is problematic unless we can find a revenue source, if we can expand that base.
But Senator David Hold is introducing a proposal to give teachers a substantial raise.
I'm going to be proposing a $10,000 raise. I happen to think that's the amount that we should be talking about because that's what would put us at a national average, and it will take years to get there under almost any proposal.
State Representative Michael Rogers has some cautionary advice.
Quit throwing out ideas unless you have a revenue source. We hear all these different plans that keep getting thrown out. We're going to give 10,000, we're going to give 5,000, we're going to give 3,000. Well, that's great and that's dandy, but we have to pay for it.
Holt says there is money to be had that need not come from raising the income tax.
A lot of people in this state right now think that raising the rate from 5% to 5.25% is going to solve all our problems. But the reality is rate is one aspect of an extremely complex tax system. And you have all these deductions and exemptions that you could get a lot more revenue into the system.
Hold and a lot of other lawmakers are also talking about putting a tax on services.
You go get your hair done, you call out an electrician to fix something at the house, you ask for assistance from a plumber. There are a number of services that we utilize, and there's no tax whatsoever. Perhaps that might be an area to address.
But the elephant in the room is how big the budget hole is going to be this year. $600 to $800 million is what's being talked about. We'll know more in a few weeks when figures from the Oklahoma State Board of Equalization are released.
We'll just see how bad the hole is because, yes, some of the ideas I just talked about, just like last year, maybe things that we say, yeah, we are going to create those new revenues, but we're going to use them for the budget hole, not for teacher pay, and that could be the possibility.
And while Senator Gary Stanislawski says teachers deserve a raise, he made some comments that put salt into the wounded spirits of some educators. Stanislawski says while Oklahoma may be 49th or 50th in the nation for teacher pay, he says the state is in the middle of the pack when it comes to total compensation, which includes health insurance and retirement.
So just like any industry, most industries today, people have an opportunity in a defined contribution plan instead of a defined benefit plan with a match. Yeah, there could be some grumbling, there could be some excitement, but I tell you what, if we give teachers a choice, let them choose. And that can go back more into salary, let them choose.
Fielding Ellsman is the assistant principal at Jenks Public Schools Freshman Academy.
A single mom with 2 kids can't survive without going on food stamps. And so we can throw around salary versus compensation, but the reality is that teachers can't provide a living wage for them and their families.
Jennifer Blakeshare believes that in the past, lawmakers have failed to think strategically.
But they didn't think ahead. They didn't put anything aside to think ahead about the bad times. And so we get ourselves into a hole like this, just like many of us do probably in our own personal finances. You have to save and you have to plan for things like this. And I just don't think that they did.
Ellsman's takeaway from what he heard is this.
I'm not particularly optimistic about the likelihood of teachers getting maybe a $1,000 raise, but I think when you talk about the shortfall that we're likely to have again this year, I just don't think that there'll be the political will to get it done.